Hello and welcome to today's episode of Words of the Wise. Today I'm here with Sergeant Mills and Officer Tijerina. Did I say that
Yeah,
right? You might have to correct me there.
Tijerina. Yeah, that's fine.
Tijerina. They're with the
Yes.
Buffalo Grove Police Department. Officer Tijerina has had almost 17 years total in law enforcement. And
Mhm.
Sergeant Mills, over 30 years in law enforcement. So, welcome to the show, both of you. We're excited to have you here.
Thank you. We're
Thank
happy
you.
to be
Happy
here.
to be here.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background with the Buffalo Grove Police Department. Go ahead and kick
Yeah.
us off. Yeah.
Right. I started with Buffalo Grove in 2001. I was as a military policeman for 6 years before that. So when I was getting out, I started applying at local departments, and I happened to be hired at Buffalo Grove right away. And coming in, I didn't know anything about the department, but I really lucked out. It's been a great place to work, and I've been here for close to 25 years now, and I couldn't be happier. I really lucked out.
How about you?
Um, I had kind of a different journey. I wasn't like one of the kids that like was like I want to be a cop when I grow up. I had no idea what I wanted to do. Um, I had family that was in law enforcement, that were officers, and I was probably younger to mid 20s. And all I knew was I just wanted to help people. I wanted to help people and do something bigger than myself. Um, so that was kind of the route I took. Started applying places. Most of the towns that I applied to, I didn't know like where they were, like what they were about, but just got involved from there. And then, yeah, kind of learned about it from being in it. And once I found Buffalo Grove, I've been there 11 years now and very happy with it. So.
Yeah, I think that's so cool that, there's a lot of officers that get into it and they know this is exactly what they want to do. But sometimes finding it after not knowing that that's what you want to do and then really realizing what your why is after being in the career.
Yeah, and I think it helped me be a really good officer, like just a really good person. Like not like that. Like I'm like a super good person, but like um, it helped me in just all my life experiences,
Mhm.
um, empathizing and sympathizing with the infinite amount of different stories and backgrounds and people and all the things that we encounter. And I think it really helped me in that regard.
How about you, Sergeant Mills? What would you say has
Uh,
been your path and
much like Brian's, law enforcement was the furthest thing from my mind growing up. I never imagined I would be a police officer. I was studying engineering in Chicago for a couple years, and my grades made it clear that I was not going to be an engineer. So I had no idea what I wanted to do, though, and I happened to run into a recruiter on campus. And again, I had no experience with the armed forces, but I was like, yeah, I'll sign up. What else am I going to do? I didn't know what I wanted to study. And I just happened to become a military policeman. So there are a lot of civilian law enforcement officers in my unit, and through the years, as I was working with them, they're like, "You should be a cop. You'd be an awesome cop. You have a great demeanor. You're smart. You could do whatever you wanted once you get in." So they kind of wore me down, and plus, I didn't know what else I wanted to do. So, like I said, after a few years, I just began applying, and I happened to get hired in Buffalo Grove. And like Brian said, it's bringing those different life experiences and different perspectives. I think it really helps a lot of law enforcement officers we have on our force. We have people that manage Starbucks, that were video producers before they came here, and it's really great to have all those different perspectives. Not that the kids that grow up wanting to do it and they study criminal justice and everything, they have great success as well. But it's great to have different perspectives when you're out on the street.
yes, definitely. And look at you, 30 years later, you're here.
Yeah, would have thought.
And we hear the phrase officer wellness. What does that mean to you? And what do you think what's kept you in this career so long?
Um, for me, it's just being able to prioritize your family and prioritize yourself if you're single. When I'm here at the job, I give it my 110%. But when I take that badge off, when I take my gun off at the end of the day, at the end of a shift, you need to let it go. It's really hard for a lot of people. A lot of people, especially if you do grow up doing this, if it's in your family and things like that, it can become part of your social fabric, part of your family life. And, it's great for some people, but for a lot of people, it just wears them down over the years. And I think that's why there are so many issues with like divorce and family issues, like with officers later on in their career, because they can't make that separation. And for me, again, growing up, maybe I viewed this more as a job than a lifestyle. So it's been easier for me, but I think that's really been the biggest step for my own health and wellness.
Yeah,
And
as
as far
far
as bringing it, yeah, as far as bringing it to the officers, I started in 2019. Like we didn't really have any formal programming here. We had individual things, like we did have a peer support group and we had chaplains and things like that, but there was no formal officer wellness initiative. So just through the IACP, just educating myself on, what the trends in law enforcement, where we were going with that. And I talked to my chiefs and they were completely on board. They chiefs are very happy when somebody else will take the initiative and do all the legwork for them and make the agency look good. And I was happy to do that. They gave me all the financial support or the, administrative support I needed to make sure that we succeeded. And 7 years later, we've had different deputy chiefs to different chief now, and they've all been 100% behind us. I think Brian would agree with that.
I was going to say, what were some of the barriers that you faced implementing some of these things over those last few years?
For me personally, it's just not wanting to do too much at once.
Okay.
It's really pacing myself with the programs and really making sure, all right, these are our priorities, asking the officers what they want, what they need. And every year we try and grow, add a few more things and reassess what we already have. Maybe there's something we thought would be a really good idea. And after a couple of years, it's not serving the officers. So we can say, all right, we're not going to put the resources towards that anymore. We're going to let that one go and focus on something else. And again, yeah, it's not trying to do too much at once or getting discouraged. Financially, and it's not like an unlimited budget, but we've been really lucky with physical space. We happen to have a big storage room downstairs that we were able to turn into a wellness room. And it was a couple $1,000s, like get recliners and some cheap furniture in there. But it really made a difference. And then when the new chief came in, he doubled down and now we have heated massaging recliners down there for the officers and, a lot chase lounges and stuff like that. Again, it's not the fanciest things, but the officers really appreciate it. And it's become a great space for them. And or even we have a wellness counter in our patrol area and I'll get bananas. They give me a budget for like cheese sticks and yogurts and stuff like that. Just so that the officers have a healthy alternative to the donuts and the pizza that's always sitting on in the patrol table. So it's things like just little things like that. There haven't been any huge barriers. It's just prioritizing what we want to do and getting everybody else on board.
They're Tijerina. I think I got it right that time.
Yeah, you did. That's great. I agree with what Sergeant Mills had said, and about kind of like separation of job and stuff. And a lot of people have this view of policing, like we see these things and we experience these things that a lot of the public doesn't, and that's true. When you've been doing it long enough, you get kind of in work mode. When you've been doing it for a decent amount of time, you don't realize how much that sneaks up on you, and kind of how it's affecting you. And I think that, so agreeing with the ideals that Sergeant Mills said, but like my directive is a little bit different, is through the years, I've always been in athletics. I love training sports, and my particular sport. I mean, it saved my life growing up. Like if I wouldn't have had training and physical wellness and things like that, like 100%, I'd be in jail. I'd be just a piece of garbage human. In that regard, I think that it's incredibly important, especially in our job. It's not a misnomer. It's of like, you go from being sedentary. There could be nights or days that you're sedentary or driving around sitting, for hours, and then all of a sudden it's like this crazy call, and then it's like back to it, and it does things to your body. The physical wellness aspect is so important to me because I know how much it's benefited me in my life, how much good it can do for your physical wellness long term and short term. Um, and incorporating these different programs into law enforcement has, I think, it's a very, very important ideal to me. I think the biggest barrier in law enforcement is kind of as a whole, there's, and this isn't like our department. Our chief is very progressive. He's been super supportive in a lot of the things that me and Sergeant Mills have wanted to do. Sergeant Mills has been my biggest backer. And so far we've had a lot of success with like programs that I've wanted to incorporate. But law enforcement as a whole, like nationwide, I think one of the biggest problems, a lot of the athletic standards and the fitness standards, honestly, they're frankly a joke. Like in our state, physical wellness test that's like a requirement it doesn't encapsulate anything that has anything to do with law enforcement. I think that's a detriment, and like they don't encourage it in the police academies. They don't, at least in a lot of the ones that I've seen. And even if they do, like some of the longer academies, afterwards there's no emphasis on that. And one of my big bases of this is like I think that there's obviously a lot of people in this country that have problems with cops, and I'm not saying that they shouldn't. It's people's opinions. That's totally fine. But I think the biggest problem is not people walking around being evil. I don't think it's like I think that it's a fear problem at the beginning. If you're going through the police academy and you're not pushed physically very, very hard, I don't think it breeds anything good, because if you're pushed really, really hard, it's not to build soldiers, but if you wanted to do this job for the right reasons, I want to help people, I want to protect those that can protect themselves, I want to do the right thing. Anybody that's been involved in physical fitness knows when you get pushed hard enough, you have to go to a deep down place. And if you want it for the right reasons, you can be like, you know what, I might not be up to snuff, I might not be here, but I'm going to do it because I want it for the right reasons. And the people that do it for the wrong reasons, coming back to the whole fear thing, is we've seen infinite amount of YouTube videos of officers literally and figuratively pulling the trigger too quickly, because maybe they got it because of insecurity, maybe they wanted it for the wrong reasons, maybe they wanted it for power, but it was never weeded out in the beginning. And that's just my own opinion. I think that that's a very, very important thing, and that's something that I really, really want to push for change in police and community, because I think that it could breed for a better community of officers, and that will just have just a better community as a whole. Officers, not making those mistakes because they're confident in themselves, they're confident in their physical ability, they're confident in all these different ways on how to do the job, and I think it just breeds a lot of positive benefits to the community as a whole.
You said a lot there. There's a lot I want to dive
I did.
into with
Sorry.
that.
I
No,
do that.
no,
My
it's good.
wife says that I do that a lot, so I'm
With
sorry.
starting with sports, we do, and we've talked about this on the podcast a lot. We see you as professional tactical athletes. Like that's what you're doing. You can't go out and perform after eating donuts, after having all the energy drinks. Athletes wouldn't do that. You would never send someone out on the field after eating some donuts and having some energy drinks. They're not going to perform well
Mhm.
mentally or physically. And so you need to train like professional tactical athletes.
Agreed. Very much agreed.
And I think that's kind of what you're getting at in the beginning part of that is being out there and being able to work under pressure, and that takes training. And then the second part of that you had mentioned coming down to, the fear that sometimes people see, and the media has created it a little bit too, in police officers. But just knowing that you are a human, at the end of the day, you have families to go home to, and, to have that respect, and again, you're working with citizens, and, you know,
Hmm.
it can be challenging, but to separate the two things, when you're
Yeah,
out there and
absolutely.
be,
And yeah, absolutely. And something that, people that train or do sports and things like that, those are also, you
Mhm,
talked about, made a very good point about humanity.
mhm,
Um, I think one of the biggest detriments to our field is when you have an officer that thinks that the badge and the uniform elevate their status above other human beings. I have never in my life, maybe it's because of life experience, training, whatever, I've never in my life thought that I am better than anybody I've ever dealt with. And I've always had immense success in that, of talking to all different walks of life, people with psychiatric issues, addiction, all different. Always had success because I've never, ever, ever, ever thought of myself as better than any other human being, because I'm a human being, you're a human being, we all are. And I think that it might sound simplistic, but when you train really hard, or when you are involved in physical fitness or for your field, whatever it might be, um, there's a lot of things of that are very, very humbling experiences.
Mhm.
Um, for decades of training and athletics and stuff like that, I still to this day, will have workouts or do something where I'm like, oh, I thought I was a strong person and I'm not at all. And I think that's a very humbling experience and brings more humanity to you.
Sergeant Mills, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, Brian's been a great resource for the department. Like you said, as far as nutrition, he's a certified nutritionist as well. So, we do consultations and we'll give him a duty dates to set up an office downstairs in our building, and all the employees are welcome to come down, and whatever their fitness goals are, nutrition goals are, Brian's there to support them with that. And he's been a great resource. And like I said, our agency is very supportive. And as far as getting that buy-in from the employees and everything, having Brian as an officer, as one of their peers, really take the lead on a lot of this programming. It makes a big difference rather than having it come top down from the chief or deputy chief saying, hey, you guys should do this. Brian's a great motivator, a great leader among his peers, and that makes all the difference in the world to us.
Yeah. Sometimes it's hard for leadership to get the buy-in, but when they have someone that's in the same seat as them, it makes it a little bit easier. With that, have you had any challenges with buy-in leading up nutrition and physical? When you grow up and you're involved in sports are important to you, it might not be for everybody. How do you get that buy-in from those who maybe didn't grow up that same way?
Well, and that's actually a really, really good question. I think one of the things is kind of just encouraging, like everybody wants to be a little bit better in some capacity, right? And one of the things that I've learned through fitness instruction, I've done instruction for teams, obviously for the PD, and then also individuals. And kind of along the same lines of what we talked about in policing, I've never thought of myself as like better than anybody else. I think to be a really, really good trainer, whether it be, nutrition coaching or meal prepping or fitness instruction, injury prevention, whatever it is, kind of the same thing. I've never ever thought of myself as better than anybody. Like if I can lift more than this person, simplistically, if I can lift more than this person, there's someone else that can lift more than me. But even so, like that doesn't matter. This person is this person. So anytime I've ever done anything for anyone, I cater it to their goals. I'll always sit down, whether it's fitness or nutrition, and ask if it's someone individual. I'll always ask them, what is your goal? What do you want? You want to look better? You want to feel better? You want to be a little stronger? You want to be a little leaner? You want to, whatever it might be. I always cater to them at their level. And I think that one of the big things is taking ego out of it. And because people have come to me and be like, I'm not going to, I can't work out like you can. That's fine. I'm not expecting you to at all. I don't want you to. We're might be training for different things. We might have different goals. I want you to be the best you can be. Just having that personability or like just communication with people. And again, kind of like the humility aspect of it, of just understanding like every single person is an individual. I want to cater the best for them. Um, and in group settings, I do a similar thing, whether it be for sports teams, I'll cater to that sport. If it's for, I've had consultations with like our fire department, making sure they know and bringing it all down, because fitness, as you know very, very well, because you're in the social media aspect, incredibly intimidating. 99.9% of the things we see on social media is this person's so much better, this blah, blah, blah. I always try and take that out and bring it very, very simple. I'll always introduce very simple concepts, baby steps, things like that to take the intimidation and the ego out of it so that people don't feel so flustered, or don't feel so intimidated to start something or change in a better way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think fitness and wellness and all of it is a one size fits all. It's really about finding out what is your goal and what are you trying to
Agreed.
achieve and what do you and it could shift too. One day you may need to lose weight, but then the next week you may need to focus on eating or over months at a time probably, but like focus on just different diet.
Mm-hmm.
So figuring out what that looks like, or maybe you need some, mental health, like mental wellness tools. So it just depends and really identifying what each person needs because we're not all treated equally. And like you had mentioned social media, people start to compare themselves and it's not about comparing. I think if we all just worry and take care of ourselves, that will have us all, we can all achieve the goals that we want to achieve.
Yeah, I agree. That's one of my favorite quotes in regards to training is comparison is the death of success.
Mm,
And I 100% believe that. And I'm guilty of it as well. I've been guilty multiple times of that throughout my life. And I understand that and that people will do that. And like I said, I try and make it as, I bring things down to simple and baby steps to take as much intimidation, as much ego, as much of that fear out of it for anybody.
yeah, what's something, and this could be for you, Sergeant Mills or Brian, what is something that most agencies get wrong when they start to introduce a wellness program?
The biggest thing I've seen is they don't ask the officers what they want, what they need. And there's a million different wellness initiatives or paths you can take. There's financial wellness, there's spiritual wellness. It's not all physical. There's a nutrition aspect, and there's family. A lot of the focus now is on getting the families involved. So a lot of the times chiefs will be like, "All right, we need because the neighboring agency did this, we're going to do that too." And you might have a totally different culture in your department. You might have different needs from your officers. And again, having it top down, that's you're not going to get that buy-in. So it's really engaging them from the beginning, doing it's the SWOT assessment. What are our strengths? Maybe we already have a bike patrol program where, all right, people don't traditionally think of that as officer wellness, but you're out there on a bike, you're working out. You already have certain things. Maybe you do have a chaplain available already or a peer support group. So look at what you have already and start building on that. But again, involve the officers and listen to them, listen to what they want. And, they're not always going to know what they want. Maybe they're like, you just know that, with the interest rates in the economy, a lot of people are hurting. All right, let me get some financial wellness planning in here. Like, that's what we're doing this year. The officers said, we really want to focus on the financial wellness. So we've been able to bring that to them this summer. And, so we have high hopes for that. But really, like you said, it evolves over time. People's needs evolve over time to be flexible. And um, again, there's a million different ways you could take it. Try not to do everything at once. And again, just keep people engaged from the beginning, and you'll get the buy-in that dooms a lot of agencies. I've heard from so many chiefs and executives, at different conferences where like, oh, we wanted to do this, but just people didn't buy in, they didn't participate or anything. It's like, well, did you ask them if that's what they wanted? If that was a program that would appeal to them? Like, no, we just thought it would be a good idea. Well, it's probably not the best approach.
Yeah.
So that'd be my biggest advice.
Yeah, listening to your people. And you went back
Yeah,
to the comparison thing, like looking at maybe another community and they're doing something that's
yeah,
working, but they might have not have that same culture that you have,
yeah.
so it might not work. Just knowing that.
Yeah,
What was
every
your
culture,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
especially in this age, in this profession, every culture is different. Every agency has their own
Hmm.
norms and expectations and everything. So just be aware of what your people need.
Yeah. And you include family members in your wellness programming as well. How has that been successful for you?
Yes, it's been good. My wife's been kind of frustrated because she had high hopes at the beginning, like, oh yeah, everybody's gonna come in and it's gonna be one big thing. I was like, it's law enforcement. If we get a little bit of buy-in, we'll take that. But it's been really good. We worked with the IACP. She joined me at one of the conferences for the Officer Health and Wellness Conference, and she was able to get involved that way. And We actually work with them to set up like pilot programs for our department, set up a social media group for the families, which, it sounds simple, but there are a lot of hurdles to come as far as privacy and security and everything like that. And just getting it out, just getting word out to the families. Like if you tell officers, hey, have your spouses join the spouse group. There's a lot of hesitancy for a lot of different reasons, some good, some not. But it's so getting over those hurdles, where we can reach spouses or the even the parents, things like that for our single officers. So now what we do is every time somebody gets sworn in, we have packets with all the resources that we give directly to families, not to the officers, to the families, with whether it's insurance information for the family group, how to join the family group, things like that. Different events that are going on through the department, different resources that are available, not just to the officers, but to the whole family. And we also give them a copy of a book. It's called I Love a Cop. And it's a great resource, whether somebody's joining law enforcement or if you read it after 20 years and like, oh yeah, I recognize that now. Yeah, now this makes sense. So we make sure that's available to everybody that joins us as well. And again, just creating that culture where it's expected. You're not just signing up the officer, you're signing up the whole family. And from the swearing in, we invite everybody, make sure they're welcome, and we just go from there.
Did you have anything you wanted to add, Brian?
Um, no, I think that was great. Sarge has done a really great job of, like I said, he's been my biggest backer. Um, he's done more for the wellness initiative at our department. The fitness and nutrition thing, it's something I'm passionate about, but, I'm maybe 20% of the whole thing. And I mean, he's done an incredible job of trying to incorporate so many things that were just never there before. And when I think of like when I first started, where it was and the things we have now, and granted, we still have a lot of things we want to do. But he's done a really tremendous job. So he said it great.
Perfect. I love it. Um, you've had success building some trust. Like this has taken some time to build up everything that you have. Many agencies struggle to get there. What would you say is the biggest piece that had an impact to actually build that trust within your officers? How do you get other officers involved and their family in building trust to do some of those things, like get on board with the physical and the wellness?
I wish I could think of like a better uh, phrase, but the proof is in the pudding. One of the biggest things that we've done so far, personally, that I'm like really stoked about, and I love it. We incorporated. So I told you about my being upset with the physical standards of police. So I created a fitness evaluation that every single element. It's 2 cycles, and it's essentially a fitness test. And every single element directly correlates with something physical that you will do on the job. And my whole reason behind that, the meaning I wanted to do that, was not to create something that's punishing, not to, no ego involved. I wanted to create something that not only does everything directly correlate with policing, but if you weren't able to do one of these things in a controlled environment, surrounded by fellow officers and friends, then it could kind of help you um, see like, oh, wow, if I can't do this here, what's going to happen when I'm on the road and this actually happens? Now, back to the original question, when I first incorporated it, as you've heard, sometimes I can go off in tangents. When I wrote it, I thought I was like broadcasted. I thought I was broadcasting like the elements of it very simply. Um, and people got intimidated of the test.
I
Now,
got intimidated.
um,
I saw his first proposal. I was like, oh my God,
so
this is crazy.
Yeah.
yeah, but I had people that had trusted me just through being a peer, and knowing that I knew what I was doing. One of the main things, talking about like humility and things, the main thing I focus on, no matter what capacity I'm training someone in, no matter what capacity I'm coaching somebody in, is injury prevention. We're going to learn how to do it right. so that you don't get injured. And I'm there every step of the way for every individual that takes the test. So we had, a group that took it the first year, and it went amazing. Those people that took it, they even say like, "Hey, like when I saw this, it was a little, I had a buddy that videoed the whole thing and did like a kind of a little instructional, and that helped a lot." And then this next year come around, we had, I think, quite a few, like 6 or 7 more people sign up than last year, and that was last year was its first year debut. Um, and same thing, the people that had done it last year improved greatly and they loved it. And then the people that didn't do it, they were like, I was a little intimidated, but this has been great. It's a great experience. Thank you for doing this. And I think that through that, so like it establishes a little bit in the beginning of that peer to peer trust. Um, and also just like a little bit of faith in like, but like I knew, I still know like
Yeah.
what I created was it's awesome. There's not a lot of things that I can say that about that I can do, but like this one, I knew it was really good, and I knew if it could just get a little bite, it would grow, and so far it has. So I think that would be my best answer to something like that.
Yeah, it's great to see that year over year, you're getting more people involved too. And to have
Mm-hmm.
something that you're really proud of to be able to bring to your team and your department says a lot.
Yeah, absolutely.
And have
Thank
you
you.
seen the culture shift with that too? With
Um, I think so. Sarge, what do you say?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. Like, I can't speak to other departments, but I know even 10 years, 15 years ago, we had a lot more people that were, just out of shape. They just didn't take care of themselves. Now you look around our department, you don't see that. I mean, still have different shapes and different sizes, but the fitness levels, the health levels are, they've just gone up, incrementally every year. And yeah, I have no doubt that, Brian's initiatives and your overall focus on health and wellness really have made a difference in our department.
yeah. How do you think the mindset's changed over the last, I don't know, 5 or 10 years around health and wellness?
It's been huge just from what I've seen. Like I said, in 2019, there were not a lot of departments that were, trying different things. A lot of it was focused on suicide prevention,
Mhm.
which is very important, but there's a lot more to it than that. So when I first started getting involved, that was the main focus, that and peer support, which again, two very important things, but there's a lot more to it. So it's been exciting to see, not just within our agency, but agencies around the country and around the world where every year it's like, all right, well, what about financial wellness? What about the family aspect? What about the sleep, the importance of sleep for shift work and things like that, and really bring that into the focus and get buy-in from our agencies at that point where like, all right, if somebody wants to take a nap, especially on the midnight shift during their lunch break, let them. There used to be a huge stigma where, oh, take a nap for half an hour during your shift. That's craziness. But I was like, yeah, I don't want people falling asleep, on the job or on their way home. I mean, I can speak from personal, experience. There'd be a lot of days where I was on midnight shifting. I'd get to my driveway and I had no recollection of driving home. You'd be sitting at that stoplight and your head would start to nod. And, if I encourage my officers, I was like, whenever you're having a rough day, or even if you're not, if you're just tired in the middle of the night, please, do it safely. Let us know where you are. Let us know what's going on. But take that 20 minutes, take that half an hour that you need to make sure that you're at your best for the rest of the shift and that you get home safely. And that's, it's mindsets like that. It's really shifted a lot in the last 10, 15 years that I've seen.
There's been studies done on sleep that say, I believe it's 16 hours. If you go 16 hours without sleep, that's the same effect as being intoxicated, which
Yeah,
was
hundred
very
percent.
interesting to me to
Not
look
as
at.
much fun.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
like, but like you said, your drive home and you're like, how did I get here? You have those feelings and it's not safe.
No, definitely.
Hmm. Yeah, so implementing
Well,
those. Oh, go ahead.
yeah, I was just going to say, when you bring it to your administrators from that aspect, from the officer
Mhm.
safety, where it's like, somebody's going to crash, somebody's going to make a poor decision out on a call, then you can get a lot more buy-in that way, where it's like, all right, maybe it's not their mindset, that's not how they came into the force, is much more of a suck it up attitude and just power through it. But if you reason with them and bring it from perspectives that the administrators are concerned about, it's a lot easier to convince them.
It's really going back to those basics too, just taking care of your body, eating right, sleeping to take care of yourself, and then that will trickle into your mind and the rest of it too, and your family life as well.
Oh yeah. And one of the silliest things, and Brian can attest to this, just to buy buy-in when we first started the program, bananas were 39 cents a pound. So I could go and instead of getting a cup of coffee every day, I would go and get $2, $3 worth of bananas. People have gone bonkers over these bananas. Even now, it's 7 years later, people come in the morning and they see the bananas out on the counter. Oh, they come over to the, oh, thank you so much. And it's little things like that it doesn't cost much. It's really simple to do, but yeah, it's the little things like that that really make a big difference to people. And I always make sure that we have healthy snacks overnight because there aren't a lot of good options for our officers. So
Yeah.
whether it's little bags of nuts or protein bars or whatever, just have an alternative when you get that craving at like 2 o'clock in the morning instead of grabbing the slice of pizza that's been sitting on a table for 8 hours or the brownies that are delicious, but you really shouldn't have that many of.
Yeah, and to your point, you can get a couple dozen bananas, probably less than a dozen donuts. So
Oh,
people say
definitely.
sometimes
Oh,
it's
way less. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And so it's like people who say it's healthier or it's expensive to eat healthy, that's not necessarily true. To your point,
No.
get the bundles of bananas.
Yeah, you can get a banana, you can get a bag of apples.
Hmm.
They can grab it, put it in their duty bag for when they're driving around or whatever. And like I said, yeah, I never knew it makes such a big difference, but I think that really helped with a lot of the buying and showed people that, all right, he's got to put his money where his mouth is. And, he is concerned. It's not just, I'm not doing this to get promoted or get recognition or anything like that. I'm very happy where I am. Brian and I've discussed this for a long time. I plan on retiring where I am. So, I'm not doing any of this to advance myself or to make myself look good. I'm concerned about our officers and everything I do is for them.
That's important. It's important to pass it down. And then hopefully that gets, once you're gone, then someone else is in your shoes and they can pass that along as well. And it just keeps going down the
Yeah.
line.
To your original question, I think one of the other things that has helped a lot is you talk about like culture change and things like that. And Mills has been, again, incredibly beneficial for assisting with that. I also see one of the more and more things. I remember like when I started 14 years ago, it seems like it was a different world of policing where like the main focus was like the pension, like this golden ticket. Once I make it, I have this lotto ticket and blah blah blah. And everything was so focused on that. Like everything, whether it came to contract agreements and all these things. And I remember when I started, I was like, it seems like weird to me that like there was no other programs, there's no other resources and stuff like that. One of the things that I think is really helping now, and I think maybe just because in society, like in America, like we know a lot more about wellness in general, about fitness in general, about all these things, is I've seen a lot of like myself and younger, all the way down to the new cadet, the majority, it's more of a focus on it's not so much about like, oh, I just got to make it to the end to get to that retirement, to get that pension. My whole thing, and I'm seeing this a lot more as well, is like, yeah, but this is like 20 to 25 to 30 years of our life. Like, what about the life we're living now? Like that is this is our life. We're in the prime of it. When you get to the end, like a lot of tickets great, but like if you're, you know, 55 and on your fourth marriage and your kids don't talk to you and you're in terrible shape and you're, gonna croak after 2 years, like what's the point? So like, why not make the life you're living right now the best it can be? And I think that has been a huge change and trendsetter in a lot of these programs being encouraged and also like having a big following, because I think the majority of the mindset of like the new generation of cops is very much in that facet of like, yeah, like let's live our lives well like while we're here.
Exactly. And then beyond it, like once you're there, you don't want to be broken down. You want to,
Exactly.
you want to be there with the family that you started with. So
Yes, 100%.
it's, yeah, you want to be present. And then I also love that you are bringing in the financial resources as well. So it's a balance between getting there, but it's not going to be fun to get there and work towards a pension if you're broken by the time you get there.
Hmm.
So I'm really glad you brought that up. I think that's very important to recognize and to know. And it seems like over the last several years, more people are starting to recognize that, enjoy the career and live happy and healthy within the career. And then beyond that, we've talked about injury prevention and nutrition, and that's all going to help in extending and getting you to that goal, the golden ticket, as you called it. Um, and then to be able to live beyond that and to live happily into retirement as well. So I really love that. If you could give one piece of advice to an agency trying to build from scratch, what would that be?
Um, Again, the biggest thing is talk to your people. Find out what they need, what they want. If you're a chief or a deputy chief, find an officer that'll be an advocate for the programming, so that it's not all coming from you. Get somebody on board, get one, every agency has the officers that are informal leaders. If you can get them on board, that'll make a huge difference as far as the trust goes, as far as the growth. There are a lot of resources out there, whether it's through the IACP, whether you do CRITAC. They have great programming as far as if you want to set up a specific lane as far as health and wellness, or if you're starting a program from scratch, they can come in and then give you that technical assistance and walk you through the SWOT analysis and all that. But really just taking those first steps. Don't try and do 50 things at once. And most agencies already have a decent base, whether it's a peer support group that they have already, if it's bike patrol, whatever, chaplains. There are things that a lot of agencies do that they don't even consider health and wellness, where you can kind of clump that together and be like, all right, this is what we already have. How can we grow off of this? So that'd be my advice. Let's talk to your people and take it slow and uh, targeted.
You know, what words of wisdom do you have for our younger generations?
Um, Go ahead, Brian.
Um, so I was thinking about like something I think about, but it's actually an easy answer for me because I already tell just about every new cadet, and it's something I feel very passionately about. No matter what you're into, fitness or nutrition or traffic or whatever it is, you have to find your happiness in yourself and your life. This is a job. It is a very great job that you should be proud of and that you should do work very hard to do the right thing at, but it is still a job. When you retire, you're not going to be there. Don't make this your life. Find your happiness within yourself, within your life. Mine comes from my wife and my children, little hobbies that I have, but it's never, ever, ever lost on me. So when the job can go in its ups and downs and treat you right and treat you wrong, you always, always have your true happiness, your sense of self, your identity, your character, your thing in your life to fall back on and be there for you. Because if you make this your life, eventually, no matter what, even if you have a glorious career, eventually you're going to retire and this will not be your life anymore. So just find your happiness in yourself and your life outside of work.
And my advice would be very similar. When kids come up to me and hey, I want to be a police officer when I grow up, what path should I take? I always tell them, don't study criminal justice. Find something else, management, another passion that you have, because a lot of people get into law enforcement, they realize, this just isn't what I thought it would be. It's not what it's cracked up to be. And you want that something else to fall back on. Or if you do get into it and you love it, then you'll bring that different perspective, that knowledge to the job. Because, like I said, a lot of people in our profession, they do study criminal justice, which is fine, but it's a very narrow point of view then. So for kids, I would always say, just find something else to study. You'll learn everything you need to know in the police academy. It's not a big deal, but to study something else. And for the newer officers, I just tell them, don't let the profession define who you are. Be proud of what you do for a living. Give 100% when you're here, but when you're not here, you're not a cop anymore. Just relax. Find those things that really bring out your passions in life and make sure that you keep them. And just remember that, a lot of people say, oh, my family is my priority, but my job's a priority. You can only have one priority in life. By definition, you can only have one priority. If you're married, if you have a family, make them your priority. The job will be here either way. If that means passing up a promotion because you don't want to work on a shift that will be detrimental to your family, so be it. If that means getting off a SWAT team or a specialty position that you've really wanted for years, but it's causing a lot of stress in your marriage and your family, give up the position. Let somebody else take it. It'll be there. But make sure that you prioritize yourself and your family over this, because like Brian said, at the end of the day, it's a job. At the end of however many decades you end up doing it, you're going to walk away. And we see it with a lot of retirees. Like it's been one of the focuses in health and wellness lately is that retiree engagement, because a lot of people leave the job and then they're empty. They miss that connection. So it's don't let that be you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sergeant Mills and Officer Tijerina. Really appreciate having you. I've enjoyed the conversation so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your
Thank you
service.
very much for having us. Thank you.
Thank you.